Hello there. Our politicians claim they want to meet the public face to face, but those very same politicians refuse to face the elephant in the room that is now on the verge of preventing just that. As per usual, please like, subscribe and comment below. And when subscribing, please do press that little bell, but also select the all option, or you won't get any notifications when I publish a new video. No one dare mention the real reason for politicians now talking so earnestly about protecting themselves. Yes, the politicians who will not protect us, their minions, have now decided that putting an ever stronger border around themselves, personally, is a far better and easier solution than interfering with modern political dogma by properly protecting the rest of us. And we all know to what I refer here. As UK borders go down, borders around politicians, political institutions and state infrastructure go up. It only takes a look around Westminster to understand that. These politicians comprehend the dangers, they know what is going on, but would rather retreat and reign over us from behind their own ever more remote and gated lives than squarely face that elephant in the room. They know the elephant exists and the danger it poses, but they don't just ignore it, they pander to it. And these politicians have actively helped to shut down the debate that needs to be had about that elephant in the room, and they have actively supported the stripping of free speech that would otherwise have allowed that debate to be had. That's right, folks, and I of course will also not mention the name of the elephant in the room for fear of being silenced and even reprimanded or worse, just like all the others that have now been censored and silenced. But you need to understand that the token responses of our political class and commentators to the appalling circumstances behind the death of Sir David Amess shows the disconnect between them and the ordinary people who know exactly the conversation we urgently need to have as a society. And worse, politicians have allowed a situation to develop where a vocal few can take the despicable path of blaming the victim for their own demise in the nastiest of terms they can summon up, while also knowingly and poisonously pointing to the wrong cause, like austerity. Hatred and vitriol, the now proven lifeblood of the hard left. And politicians who have been too weak to stand up and be counted have been the ones who have allowed social media to help shape this new dystopian approach to our now fully controlled speech. The politicians have also facilitated, or even very vocally supported, the concept that the UK is always an aggressor, past, present and future, so therefore everyone else is the victim, in all cases and at all times. For how much longer will they say nothing as UK haters are appointed to positions where they can erode and destroy our heritage, for example? Those politicians are the ones that have put a very large bullseye on our backs. And all the while the elephant continues to roam the sitting room, squashing the sofa of free speech and smashing the table of democracy, while eating all the biscuits, drinking all the tea and taking large dumps everywhere. And now consider the growing number of elephants in the room that we are now no longer even able to acknowledge, let alone point to or to criticise. It is not now a case of the silent majority, it is now the silenced majority. Do you feel part of the silenced majority? And up until now, our politicians and the chatterati have been content to wander around the room, avoiding the obvious, just saying how nicely the decor was coming along while patting the elephant like they would a lapdog and hoping it doesn't sit on them. But now reality is starting to hit home, and some recognise that actions must be taken. Actions to protect, maybe? But our politicians do not want to clear the sitting room out. Oh no, that's far too politically charged. We're now too far down that path to actually do anything about it. No, they intend building their own new extension of personal protection and leave the rest of us in that ever messier sitting room. No, they plan on looking into the sitting room from their new secure extension and commenting on how well it's all going, and then put out a statement saying that if we've got a complaint, please send them an email to their office, which together with their staff is now located in the new secure extension. And when you do email them, they'll just stamp the words science denier or bigot or something like that on it. Now, many people may think I'm being too hard on our politicians while pointing to the hard work many of them do within our community. And there's no doubt that they do. But if that hard work does not prevent them and their family and staff having to disappear behind a curtain of personal protection, so starting the demise of democracy, then of what use is that local hard work? If they will not stand up in the House of Commons, look this elephant in the eye and address the problem head on, then how are we ever going to remedy that problem? And be in no doubt, they will do no such thing. Except, of course, by them disengaging themselves from it behind a wall of security. In fact, I think that in the same old manner, they will find a way to apportion the blame to what they see as the thick, uneducated populace. Us. Yes, it will somehow be our fault and problem for not embracing this dangerous elephant. And there will be ever more strident calls to spend more money on the elephant and less on us. Actually, hasn't that been a failed policy by government after government after government down the decades that's already been proven to be a total disaster? But that's modern UK government policy for you. Find failure and reinforce it. And it seems the more corrupt that failure, the better. Far from being the protectors of UK democracy, far too many of our MPs are bungs in the arsehole of its progress. Now, is it right that the upcoming by-election in Southend West should be uncontested? But before I get onto that, I just want to say a massive thank you to all my Super Thanks, Patreon and PayPal supporters, as well as those that do buy a mug with my mug on it. Links in the descriptions box below. You really do help me keep this channel going. Now, emotions are very tender surrounding the death of MP Sir David Amess, and already major parties are standing down their opposition to whoever the Tories select as the next MP for Southend West. And woe betide any upstart political party that bucks that trend, and rightly so, within our current election rules, given our fair-minded British psyche that tends towards the respect of the deceased. But I will remind people that this did not apply for Labour and the Lib Dems back in 1984. In that year, the Thatcher government came under close-up and personal physical attack on the 12th of October in the form of an IRA bomb placed in the Brighton Hotel where they were holding their party conference. Amongst many other casualties, the Conservative MP for Enfield Southgate and Deputy Chief Whip Sir Anthony Berry, an MP of 20 years standing, lost his life. There was a by-election just 2 months later on the 13th of December, and both the Lib Dems and Labour put up candidates against the Tory choice Michael Portillo. They did not stand aside back then. And further, what would happen today were this same appalling fate to befall an independent MP? What of the subsequent by-election then? How could that be uncontested? How can their memory be respected? Or do these rules only apply to the representatives of political parties, those that call the shots? Those relying on the immediacy of people's emotions? Now, time here is the healer. Time. Maybe we need a public debate about this, with a view to passing legislation that puts in place, say, a 3 or even 6 month gap between the funeral service of any MP and the calling of the subsequent by-election, during which time no political campaigning locally is allowed, on the understanding that the by-election, when called, would then be fully contested, because due respect would then have been paid and democracy would also then prevail. That way, maybe, the importance of mourning, emotions and democracy can all be properly respected. In fact, the current Tory government could declare just that today and say that there will be such a halt in political proceedings for this by-election and that legislation would follow. Just a thought. So what's your opinion on the elephant in the room? Please like and comment below.